Hey everybody, welcome to the Lifestyle Practice Podcast. This is Steve Vandegraff. I'll be your host today. Thanks for listening in. I wanted to talk with you today about hiring, how to hire the right person and how to do it efficiently. This is important because your practice cannot be better than your team members. It can't. And because hiring is difficult and time consuming. It takes away from what we like to focus on, which is taking care of patients and doing lots of dentistry. In my career so far, I have hired some great people and I've hired a few not so great people. And my experiences have kind of helped me learn some tips throughout this process that I want to share with you today. So here are some ideas and tips on how to hire the right person and how to go about it efficiently. To give you these tips, I'm just going to go from the beginning to the very end of the hiring process, okay? Let's pretend tomorrow at work you have an employee that comes up to you and they say they're going to relocate or they're deciding for whatever reason to submit their 2 weeks notice. Now, this is never fun news to hear. The initial response may be to feel very disappointed or to get frustrated, but it's important you take action right away. The first thing you do when you get this unfortunate news is you put up job listings right away, as in the same day. It's really easy to say, oh, well, this person gave me their 2 weeks notice, so they're going to be here for a while before they're gone. And let's face it, hiring is not fun. I'll get around to it. No, you need to act immediately because it takes time to find someone great. And when you find that person, they probably need to give 2 weeks notice at their job. So if you don't jump on this and move fast, it's very likely that in 2 weeks' time, you're going to be without an assistant or front desk or hygienist in your practice. And being shorthanded is very inefficient and expensive. So don't delay, don't procrastinate. Go ahead and get ads up the same day and attack this obstacle. So you get up your job ads real quick. You want to cast a wide net, so post this position on multiple listings. With your listing, you want to attract great people. So don't just put up some boring information with a couple of long lists of job duties and qualifications. No, you want to sell your practice to the best employees out there. So make your ad stand out. You want to have an upbeat message. Exclamation points, emojis. You want to sell your practice as a great place to work. Your job ad should be like your ads to patients. The message is great things are happening here in our office. It's full of good people. You want to be here. That's the mentality. On these listings, I'd recommend you put for the hourly pay a range. Don't leave it blank. Don't just say based on experience and don't just put one number, but put a range starting at X dollars an hour up to Y dollars an hour based on experience. Here's another great tip to attract great employees. If you have some solid team members right now, have them interview each other on video, like even just a cell phone camera for 60 seconds, and have them ask each other questions. How do we take care of patients here at such and such Family Dental? What's it like working in this office? What is Dr. Smith like? Just like glowing testimonies from our patients will attract more patients, glowing testimonies from your current employees will attract great employees. It's social proofing. And if you do this, you will stand way out from everybody else on that job board because nobody else does that. So hopefully you do these things and you get a bunch of resumes. I would recommend, again, like before, go through them right away. Don't wait until the weekend. Don't wait until next week. You want to respond while these leads are hot. Most people are interested right when they send their application in. Their eagerness and their interest, it just goes down with time. So respond right away. What are you looking for when you're going through resumes? It's hard to get to know someone or have a feel for a person's personality or trustworthiness just from their resume. So at this point, you're looking through resumes, you just want to focus on competence. From their work history, from the overall presentation of what they give you, does this person seem competent? Then do a social media search to learn more about them. This, of course, is often very revealing. You can often tell real quick somebody's maturity level and also their general life stability, in a sense, by the content that they're putting on social media. So, of course, check that as well. You can also have your staff or your front desk or anybody in your office do both of these steps for you and kind of weed out the less favorable candidates. After you have some good options, the next step is you want to reach out. It depends on how many applications you get, but hopefully you should have 5 or 6 people that you really want to pursue further. And the first step is a phone conversation. Go ahead and text them first, because if you just cold call them, they're not going to answer. But text them, let them know that you want to connect about the opportunity. And when you speak with them on the phone, this, at least for me, is usually a short conversation. Ask about their interest in the position, then learn about their background. We want to see from this call that they communicate well. If you can tell just from your conversation on the phone that their tone or their demeanor is off, that is a cue that they may not be the sharp communicator you need to have with your patients. Also, in this call, I like to ask, usually towards the end of the call, how much they're being paid at their current job. I think in certain states, this is like an illegal question to ask. But for me, it's a real time-saving question. If they are making more right now than what you're able to pay them, or if they just have different expectations than you do on compensation, you want to know that up front. The last thing you want to do is bring somebody into the office, show them around, interview them, spend a half hour of your time, just to find out at the end that the pay is a non-starter. So save yourself some time and energy and make sure you're on the same page right up front. After you've done this, invite the sharp ones from those phone calls to come in for an in-person interview. For the interview, I usually do them at the end of the day, but I like to have a team member show the person around the office so they get a feel for the place, so I don't have to do it. And it also gives them an initial feel of being with the other staff. Then I sit down with them and we talk. Personally, I like a less formal interview. My goal is not to grill them or to see how they perform under pressure. My goal is to get to know them. You can ask ChatGPT for some good interview questions to ask. It'll give you a ton. Go ahead and pick out a few of your favorite and prepare for your interview. But me personally, these are, I think, the most 3 important things to look for during your conversation. The first is attitude. This is number 1 for me. Experience is really good, especially with front desk and billing. I think experience is really good. But if it comes down to it, a person's attitude is the most important characteristic in an applicant. Attitude, what does that mean? It means willingness and it means adaptability. This is a person who is going to do whatever you need them to do. They're going to learn new things. They're going to go the extra mile because they have attitude. The second point is integrity. This is the trustworthiness of a person. You're trusting this person with your patients. This person is going to become an ambassador of your business and kind of a representation of you to your patients and to the community. So not just anybody can come in and take this responsibility. Is this somebody, maybe you can ask yourself, is this somebody I'm comfortable with my family being around? Is this person going to reliably be at the office early every morning to open and stay until closing and then close it every evening so you don't have to and you can leave it up to them? So integrity. Your team members need to be high character people. The third one is a team player. By this, I mean the person has the emotional intelligence to solve problems with coworkers rather than cause or find problems with their coworkers. The worst mistake you can make in hiring is to bring the wrong person on and find out 3 to 6 months later down the road that this is a toxic person and they are bringing the rest of your team down. We all know it just takes one negative energy-sucking vampire that will just pull the whole feel of your office down. Now, this can be kind of a hard thing to read when you're just talking with somebody for the first time and they're putting on their best show. So I kind of like to ask questions that give them a chance to reveal any negative victim mindset that they may have. So, for example, I'll ask something like, what did you like about your last job? And tell me what you didn't like about your last job. If they kind of take the bait and really run with the negative side of that question, and they have all sorts of sad, terrible things to say about their last job, well, the chances are really good that they'll find negative things about your office too. Or I like to ask, have you ever had a coworker that you didn't get along with? Tell me about that. How did you handle the situation? Again, if they take the bait and go off about their old coworkers, chances are they're going to find problems with their next coworkers as well. If they answer and, share that they have a colleague that they didn't see eye to eye with, but they explained how they addressed the issue and they took the initiative to work it out, that is a mature person that could be a great one to have on your team. High maturity, high emotional intelligence. You want a problem solver, not a negative problem finder. So that is a real red flag that I try to find out during our conversation together. So you go through your interview, your questions, of course, answer any questions they have. You want to have them asking you questions. That shows they're eager, interested, and sharp. After everything's done, tell them you'll get back with them within 24 hours about the next step. If they prove to have a great attitude, if they showed you they're trustworthy and that they're going to be a positive jolt in the arm to coworkers, invite them back for a working interview or a shadowing opportunity, if you want to call it that. I do this for a couple reasons. First of all, you want them to see how you operate, right? It's hard to sign up for a new job, especially this long-term working relationship that you want to have, if they've never even seen how you work or if they've never met your team. So first of all, you want them to understand kind of where you're at and what your philosophy is. And then, of course, second, it gives you a chance to see how they communicate, how they talk with your staff, how they talk with patients. I usually tell them, look, I'm not expecting you to come in and know how to do anything. This is just a chance for you to see how we operate and for us to get to know each other better. What do you want to see during this working interview? Again, you don't need to expect them to know all the details of your office and your systems. But what you want to see is they are gelling with your staff. They're talking, laughing, genuinely interested and kind. So they're gelling with your staff. You want them to show some initiative. So they're asking questions to you or whoever's showing them around. And then you want to see that they're asking questions. This means they're interested. They're going to be able to learn. You want to see that they're taking some initiative. They're offering to jump in or help. Those are all the positive things you want to see. A couple other things to remember during this working interview. First of all is to pay them for their time. You want to establish right up front trust and respect between you two. So I always pay them, even if they're just, there to shadow, pay them. And then second, I personally don't like to do all-day shadowing. Why? Well, having the applicant there, it actually requires one of your employees to be with them the whole time, showing them stuff, talking to them, explaining and answering questions. That employee is, in a large way, kind of pulled away from all of their own work. So if you do this all day, you're kind of down a team member. And if you're doing this with a few different candidates, that's going to be a really big pull away from your regular staff's work. It's a lot of extra work for them. So I personally like to do these working interviews or shadowing opportunities for a few hours. Often come in after lunch from 1 to 4, and then we'll talk a little after its hours. A few hours like that has worked well for me. So anyways, after you're all done with your working interview, you want to approach your team, tell them that you're going to make the final decision on who joins you, but you want their feedback from their experience and their conversations. If they all love somebody and are saying great things, and this person checked those boxes I mentioned previously, go ahead and extend an offer. Again, don't wait a week to do it. The best time to do it is while the lead's hot. They just experienced your office. They've just kind of mentally prepared themselves of what it would look like in this office. So move efficiently. When you offer them the job, I'd always recommend beat the wage that they're making right now. I always tried to beat the pay of my employees' previous job by at least $2 or $3 an hour. So it was always higher than they had ever earned before. And I also like to give them an outline of what I expect from them as far as training and how their specific improvements are going to bring what specific raises down the line. This gives them something to reach for, and the raises are something that they can look forward to in the future. I think also having kind of a timeline of that helps prevent them from coming up and asking you for raises all the time, because you've already explained how those raises are going to come. At any point in the process that I just mentioned through all of that, it's very possible you are going to have things go sideways. You love a certain applicant, and then you find out that they go in a different direction. You set up interviews and you just get ghosted. Maybe you misread somebody early on in the process, and then later you just found out they actually are not what you thought. That's all okay. This is totally normal. It's okay to have to start over. It's actually very common. Just think of all of your repetitions at this as an education for you to get really good at hiring. But again, attack the obstacle. Even if you have to start over, don't delay, don't put it off. No matter how much resistance you find, go ahead and attack this thing. So hopefully those ideas are helpful for you. I would challenge you to follow this sequence that I just laid out and let me know how it goes for you. Remember, prioritize attitude, integrity, and being a team player. Put as much effort into this hiring process as you would any other task in your office. Why? Because again, your practice is only as good as your team members. Having a great staff makes all the difference in your stress levels and in your income. So you have to hire the right person. If you have questions about this, or if you're struggling with really creating and retaining a rock star team that you have to have in order to have a lifestyle practice, call us. This is probably the central thing we work on is leadership with your team. Steve, Matt, or Derek at thelifestylepractice.com. Have a great week.